is a movie, and it started now. Forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello, and welcome to Dad's Dating After Divorce, the only podcast that is helping you dads to traverse the wild, wacky, and fun, if you want it to be, world of dating after divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval. I'm the founder of The Divorced Advocate, and my co-host, as always, is Dallas Bluth, the founder of Black Box Dating. How are you doing, Dallas?
Doing awesome, Jude. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about status, and I just wanted to add, I wanted to add that I have to add fun in there in that intro, because I've been doing like the wild and wacky or whatever, wild, crazy, interesting, whatever. But it depending on your mindset, it can be a lot of fun. And I know that I like to have fun. I don't know about you, and I think the dads listening would hopefully like to have fun. So it can be fun, especially if you keep the right mindset, which is right.
The women definitely want it to be fun, so we have to keep that element there. If it seems like a grind, if it seems like a job, if we're getting frustrated, we got to get back to basics. Women definitely want it to be fun,
right? And that's all about your mindset. And we're going to talk a little bit about this today because we had a call last night with a lot of the divorced dads, and one of the topics that you had brought up was status. And if you listen kind of to the mainstream narrative out there or some of the darker corners of the web, that's all about like the Lambo that you've got and the C-suite title or your six-pack abs or whatever else. And if you're like a lot of the dads listening and you're fresh out of a divorce, maybe you're living in an apartment for the first time in a very, very long time, and or your finances have taken a really big hit, and you might feel like your status is pretty much bottomed out and that you're damaged goods. But what I want us to talk about and share with the dads today is flipping that script and talking about why being a divorced dad is actually, I would call it, an unfair advantage in the dating market if you know how to leverage it, right? And it's a well-earned unfair advantage for sure. And so we're going to talk about kind of the biology of status and why women are wired to look for men with experience, and then also how the dads can stop chasing and start flirting, right? Because that goes to that mindset and what you were talking about last night and those mindset shifts. So let's jump into it. Any comments first before we jump into my structure? Like I got it all structured out. So any initial thoughts around that?
So I love this topic. I feel like our perception of status in society is really, really narrow. And when you really open up this topic, you start to realize that it's a game that everybody plays, and it's being played. It's like 3D chess that's being played out in the society in lots of different ways. And we tend to, when we talk about status, we reduce it down to, like you said, the Lambo, what's your salary, what's getting posted on Instagram, what's your last vacation. We oversimplify it into the materialistic category. And status is so much more rich and complex and ultimately actually useful to people than just that explanation. So let's jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on that, let's talk about it, because what you just mentioned, social media in particular, is really playing on something that is primal in both men and women. So, that's why they start talking about the Lambos and the C-suites and the abs. And if you scroll social media, like you can't scroll more than 5 seconds without seeing one of those three things. It's just insane. But it is rooted in some biological and psychological thinking, right? And so first let's just be open about the fact that women are biologically wired to monitor, if you will, status. Okay, it's not shallow. It's just it's an ancestral survival mechanism in order for them to survive. So however you want to describe it, God has designed them this way, or they have evolved it, but this is just a way that they are designed, and they're looking for, these are the three things that I believe that they're looking for. They're looking for cues of safety, resourcefulness, and competence. Mm-hmm. And so do you agree with that? And let's talk about what, like, why that is and why that has happened for the millennia, so that guys can understand that this isn't them just being shallow or being a princess or whatever else. Not that they can't be that way, mm-hmm. right? But some of this is just wired. Some of them are aware of it. Some of them are not.
Yeah, it's definitely wired in, and it's not just women, men too. Men, we work with status. We look at it differently. Okay, so in order to talk about status innately has comparison built into it. There's no way around mm-hmm. it. All status is a matter of, we've got, let's say, 100 people, in an outdoor park area. You got 100 people in a meadow. Well, who knows how to do what? Who's good at what? Who has what resources? Who's going to be useful? Who's going to help us keep alive? Who's actually, got a bad reputation? If we're all standing there naked, expressionless, and have no relationship to each other, it's a huge blank canvas. And if you think about it, without any particular tools in place, without any indicators of, that guy's carrying a spear, or, this woman's got, 12 children. Without any of these indicators, every one of us is a blank canvas to somebody else. Status is something internal that we have, but we need displays of it. We need indicators of it on the outside, such as, what are you wearing? How many beads do you have on your necklace around your neck? How big is your spear? How many mm-hmm. other people are paying attention to you? All of these are indicators that indicate to the other people in the group the status. And what it does is it saves us on our most precious resource as humans, which is our mental capacity.
Yeah.
Status. Let me just say what it is. Mm-hmm. It's a heuristic. Status is a shortcut to making decisions so that we don't have to make them from scratch every single day. And there's a lot more to say on that. Yeah, no,
it leads into exactly what I was going to say, because I was going to dial it down a little bit even further. We're always making observations all the time, all day long. And based upon those observations, then we're making judgments all the time. Whether we know it or not, we're making a judgment. That is just the way that that is the basis of what you were talking about, creating a heuristic, which is status then just is, taking all of that and then putting it into a box, if you will, right? Is that, I just want to clearly label that for the dad's listing.
Heuristic is a shortcut. It's a way of doing something faster. Rather than mm-hmm. having to figure out everything about this man, how much money does he have, all of that. If he's driving a Lamborghini, I pretty much can make certain assumptions about him. It's a shortcut. It allows me to not have to go through the slow, agonizing process of trying to hack into his bank accounts and get his credit score and all that. It's a shortcut to getting the information that we need.
Right. And so what you just described, which is you're looking at a field of people, and the one person has, let's say it's a man has a spear, then, and we're talking primarily, that man was probably a warrior. That man probably knew how to protect the woman. And so instead of having to go through that whole she was able to look, that's his status as the warrior. So he was a warrior. She's created that box of warriors as a status, and it makes it a much faster process to be able to make these judgment calls around what's happening. And let's just be clear about judgment. I've had this. I had this conversation recently with some friends about judgment and being non-judgmental, et cetera. We are making judgments every day, every second of the day. Now, what we do with those judgments is where things happen. But making judgments all the time, that's what keeps us alive. We're judging how fast that car's coming at us. Yeah. We're judging that's how our mind is, our computer brain is wired.
Yeah. And, a concrete example, if we're in a meadow and let's say a wild boar comes charging through the meadow towards the group of people. Let's say I'm a 5'3" woman, not very built, and I see two men. One of them has a spear, one of them does not. I am obviously going to make the judgment call to jump behind the man with the spear. Because and it's not just who he is. I mean, that spear is useful. That spear communicates something to me. The other guy might have spears, but he left them at home. Well, what does that tell me about his character? What does that tell me about his readiness? That's, you know, and that judgment call that I would be making in that situation, it's not that I'm judging one man as being better than another. I see judgment as falling into two buckets. One is I'm judging other people, telling them that they're good or they're bad, you know, that they're virtuous or they're sinful, you know, and that's me going around the world, you know, trying to be their parent, telling them how it should be or what they need to do to improve themselves. I would call that toxic judgment. I don't see, unless somebody's asking me for my insight, my personal point of view, and that's in a trusted friendship, that's different. But if I'm going around judging people because of how I think they should be, that's toxic. Okay, that's one bucket of judgment. The other bucket of judgment is I have to make decisions about my life. I have to make judgment calls for my own well-being and for the well-being of those that are dependent on me. Right. Those are healthy judgments. If I don't make those, well, that boar charging through the meadow probably going to take me out.
Yep, exactly. And so that's why when women are making these decisions or monitoring your ability to provide safety or provide resourcefulness or your competence to be able to do that and or any other thing in life, it's just how they're wired. And that's a resource that helps keep them alive, but it also helps keep the species alive. That's how we continue. That's how we continue to reproduce and will continue to reproduce.
Okay. I have to jump in here. So one of the absolute fundamental exercises that I do with my clients in coaching is I try to cultivate an appreciation and a compassion for what women are going through. Mm-hmm. And the reason is a lot of men end up pointing the finger at women saying, well, why are they judging me for this? Why are they expecting this?
Yeah.
And one of the best ways that I've found to help my clients really become appreciative of women is to first look at their own behavior. Mm. If you're frustrated that women are looking at status, if you're frustrated of how they're supposedly judging and categorizing men and putting us into buckets, okay, take a moment, look at yourself and spend this exercise for a few days when you're out in public and ask yourself, how am I actually playing this status game? How am I judging people? It's going to look very different. The thing that's hard about it is it's like you're the fish in the water, so you don't notice the water. Right. We're in this status game all the time. We don't notice how we're playing it. We only notice when it's a woman doing it and they're doing it differently than us. Then we become aware of it. Or, you know, I'm used to having my status based on wearing Patagonia, you know, hiking gear. And then some guy drives up in, you know, some sports car. And suddenly I'm now all prickly inside. And because he's now playing some game that's very different than my game. Mm-hmm. Right. So, but the trick to all of this, and this is really what it is we have to lead by example. We have to become self-aware of the game that we're playing with status because we are all playing it. There is no way, unless you are a psychopath or, you know, or really, or, you know, or pretty far on the spectrum, and you have a very hard time, you know, reading these social cues. We are all playing status games. And the real game is to find out which game I'm playing and which game they're playing and to find out whether or not we even want to be playing the same game.
I like how you put that, right? Because none of that is bad. None of this game is bad, and game playing and status in and of itself is not bad either. It's just finding the person that you want to play the same game with, that you're playing the same game. Because if and we say that in the context, if you're not translating this, guys, that's your value system, like that's your values and your beliefs, and what you want is the game that it's the game of life. is what you're going to be playing. And so you've got to find the person that is going to be most compatible with, or you guys can figure out how to be playing that game together. And status is one of those ways again. So wrapping it back up is a shortcut to find that person and to look at that person and see, oh, okay, well, this is maybe somebody, right? Because unless you go much deeper, then you're not really going to know. Let's pivot, because I think we got a good groundwork there and why it is okay. Well, it's just kind of like, okay, go ahead.
There's one little piece I want to add in there, and I want to take it just a little bit deeper. Status really speaks to your identity as a person. I'm the kind of guy that, that thinks money is evil. So I'm going to play a very different status game than I'm the kind of guy that believes that, that wants to be philanthropic, versus I'm the kind of guy that wants to show off at the strip club and be able to, make it rain, with all the girls around me. Those three guys, they have different behaviors, they have different values, but really they see themselves differently. They have a different identity. They are a different kind of guy.
Yes.
I just want to throw that piece out there.
No, that's a great point. And we haven't talked so much about the guy part of it, and we'll see. Maybe we'll dive into that as the complementary of the women. I'm really trying to lay a groundwork, or I feel like what we're trying to do for the dads is lay groundwork here, because what gets there's so much misconception around the origin and the reason why this is happening. Like we were just talking before about a couple of dates that we had beforehand, and like you can come away from that stuff bitter and saying, oh well, she's status conscious or money or whatever, or just understand that she's playing a different game.
But she's not.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay, but here's the thing. She's not playing a different game. If she was playing a different game and you were fine with it, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
I know where you're going to go with it. Well, no, but you can be okay. Well, if her values are the game, Dallas, she would be. Well, she's not playing a different game from the sense that she's playing a game. She's playing a game with a different set of rules.
Well, so if I'm upset that some woman, it wants a certain lifestyle, let's say, certain brand names or whatever, and I'm somehow upset by that, I've actually got a split identity going on inside of me. Part of me
you just don't know what your values are.
That's what I mean by a split identity.
Well, that's we're saying the same thing.
Okay.
I'm making just the point, and I guess I didn't quite get there fast enough. If you're getting upset with that, then you just don't know what your values are, and you're upset that they're different. You shouldn't be upset. It's okay. It's actually a good thing, and it's a good thing early to know that, to be like, oh yeah, our games aren't the same, so that's fine. Good luck, and we go our different ways. So I think we're saying the same thing. You shouldn't. If you do get upset, then that means you have the problem, that you need to figure out what your values are, because if they're not the same and you didn't like that, then it's not her fault. I mean, she gets to choose.
I would say if you're getting upset by it, you are playing that game, or you want to be winning that game. Exactly. You wish you were winning that game.
Right.
So let's take the social media internet example. All the little trolls, that are living in their mother's basements, that are saying, the Andrew Tate crowd out there, that are like, I don't have power, I can't get it. The women only want the dudes with the money. All these sorts of things. Okay, well, and they're saying, this is terrible. They're complaining about a game that they wish they were winning.
Yeah.
Okay,
true.
That's the problem. And so if you're feeling anger about this, about somebody else's game that they're playing, it's because part of you, at least, is playing that game or wishing you were winning that game. And there's a split inside of you when you're like, look, I'm not looking to have a private jet. That's not how it works. In my mind, this is me speaking as Dallas. The world doesn't work if everyone has a private jet. It just doesn't. The world hardly works when everyone has a private car. It just like it's really hard. I mean, when I look at American consumption and I look at the square footage that we have for our houses per person, if the entire world, in all the other countries lived like this, my gosh, would we be? I mean, we'd be we'd be covered in pollution in the atmosphere.
It would be a different world for sure.
It really, really would be.
Yeah.
And but the trick is to see the game that's being played and realize if you're angry about it, it's because you're on the fence. You either haven't said, you know what, that is not a game I want to play. I'm going to let other people play it because apparently that's what they like, but it's not the game I want to play. Or I haven't stepped all the way in to that status hierarchy, and I haven't truly committed and say, you know what, I'm going to win this thing, and I'm all in. The anger is because you're sitting on the fence. You're reluctant to pick a side and say, yes, I want to be this way. No, I want to be this other way.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes back to what you talk about all the time, is knowing what your values are, knowing what your beliefs are. We talk about that every single episode, because until you do that, and there's a great book. I don't know if we've talked about it, Dallas, and maybe at some point we can have Sean Smith on the show. He wrote a book. It's called The Tactical Guide to Women. And the first half of that book, he talks just solely about that and about how when he was younger, he hadn't even thought about that stuff. And as he got older, that's when he was really able to dial in and meet his wife that he's been with for the rest of his, or to date, right? And so I highly recommend, if you guys need just a resource, first resource is Dallas. Get involved with the community. And I'm not kidding. Like you guys hear me say it every single week, and I'm just not kidding, because every single week I get to see this guy work with other dads and other guys and the successes and what he brings to the table. And just coaching, we know in general, you get coaching, you get feedback from doctors on stuff. Like if you want to, like Dallas said, if you want what you want, whatever that value system is, get with somebody to figure out how to get to that point. And so get with Dallas. But this book is great. It's The Tactical Guide to Women. And his whole first half is just talking about that. Maybe it'll give the guys some more concept of how to do that and go through that. I want us to now take it maybe a little bit to the next level, which is, we talked about the biological, the more of the social, the hypergamy, right? The guys are going to hear on social media hypergamy, and women are hypergamous and this and that. And so I feel like there's a big misconception around what hypergamy is with a woman, in particular in our modern society. And that is that they're always looking to climb that social status, that they're always trying to go the next step up to the next guy that has the Lambo or the C-suite or like whatever. And that's not what hypergamy is. And so here's the definition, and let's dive into that. I don't feel like women want a man that is just that but what they do want, and what hypergamy really is that they want a man that they can look up to, and not just financially, but in terms of emotional stability, decision making, and leadership. Those are kind of the three things I feel like women are looking at.
That definitely rings true with me. I think when we talk about hypergamy, is women like to date across and up on certain socioeconomic standards. So all of those indicators of what's your job, what's your salary, what are you driving, what are you flying, all of those are shortcut indicators for us to see externally that this man is someone she can, quote unquote, look up to. From a status point of view, it's up. So that makes sense. Right. You're taking it to a deeper emotional level where this is a man she can respect. This is a man she can, I'm going to say she can sleep well next to because she feels safe. This is a man that she feels she can relax and open up with. This is a man that she can, that she can really embrace having children with. These are all things that, that she looks up to. I take it even one step further and bring it down to the simple question of, this is a man who that this woman enjoys her experience when she's with. Admiring a man, when I think about as a man, when I think about the men that I enjoy being in their company, of course it's because I admire them. And again, this isn't something that only women experience. This is something that other men experience. If you think about your dudes that you hang out with, your brothers, when you think about why you're with them, why they light you up, why you would choose to spend your time with them, it's because they have traits and they have built certain elements of character that you admire. This is not just with women. And this is the secret. I mean, this is where I came up with my 14 core elements of masculinity. I didn't look at women at all to find them. I looked at myself and how I experience a dynamic with a masculine man. How do I look up to them? And all of that, I know everything I need to do. I know everything I need to know when I look at my experience when I'm in their presence. And that for me is what it really comes down to at the core is, and because if women look at a guy that's less developed and they can't really admire them, the experience is small, it's petty, it's boring, it runs out of juice, it doesn't have a lot of fuel to it.
Right. And women experience more through feeling than men do. So that's important to point out. Creating that experience for them, that feeling experience. Yes. And we just know that, like they bear children, like all of this and how they mother, like we see this in like all the dynamic of how they are and how most of them show up. That's a whole different topic in modern day society, but it's very feeling oriented, it's very feelings based. So if you're creating that feeling of what were the three of emotional stability, of good decision making, of leadership, then she's going to want to be with you. And let's also, because you talked about they'll date across and up socioeconomically, and men typically are going to date across and down. And they don't socially economically and go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say when men date across and down, it makes it easier for the woman to look up to us.
Exactly. Okay, that's where I was. Okay, you were getting where I was going to get to.
Keep going.
that is why that happens, right? And part of our challenges in modern day society is that women have really taken on more of a masculine nature and working, and their socioeconomic baseline, if you will, is moved, and men's is not moved, and so we're dealing with men and women that are experiencing all of what we just described biologically and socially, it's like all mixed up, and they're very, very confused around it.
But there's kind of a simple solution to the knot. And that is,
I love simple solutions, right? Okay.
Yes, you do. Yeah. So I like how you've turned this around to hypergamy is basically about admiration.
Yeah.
Hypergamy is women want to admire men. Well, if money and salary is not where admiration is going to take place, shift the game. Find the other places in which they will admire. They admire your physique, because you're trim and fit in an American society that is terribly overweight. Or you're very still and quiet and grounded in your mind, but very alive at the same time. Well, that's something that they can definitely admire. They can admire your ability to listen and be emotionally intelligent and receptive and grounded when you're in a conversation with them. They're like, oh man, I haven't met another guy that is this good at listening and making me feel heard. It's how they're experiencing it, but they look back at you and they think, wow, you are, so admiring somebody and looking up to them, that has an innate status in it. You are doing it better than other guys. Yeah, that's the trick. But play a different admiration game. Stop playing the social media game of admiration and find other ways for them to experience something that they're like, oh man, I want to be with Jude because I admire the way he ...
I want to give an example of that. I have had and continue to have many friends who are missionaries, and missionaries, especially, there's not a lot of money in being a missionary. You have a specific spiritual and religious goal that is associated with that. But I can say the marriages of these missionaries and the women that have married my male friends that are missionaries are 100% dedicated. And these men are leaders, right? They're leading into places and doing things that very few people in the world are willing to do. And it has nothing to do with what traditional status symbols would be around what we are experiencing in Western culture. It is all based in what this is, their emotional stability, their decision making in difficult and challenging places in the world that they might be traversing, and particularly their leadership of how to do all this without a lot of resources and have a family and do that. Yeah. So it is absolutely amazing to watch some of these men, but and maybe that's an extreme example to what you're talking about, but
not at all.
Okay.
No. You're saying they don't have a lot of resources. They might not have a lot of monetary resources. But human capital. Yep. Inspiring others to follow you. I mean, Gandhi, from what I understand, did not have a whole lot of money, but he had a whole lot of people. That and in the end, money is only there to motivate people to do things. Yep. And if you're bypassing the money and you're motivating and inspiring people, you have quite a lot of resources actually at your availability. What it is though is these missionaries you're talking about, they're playing a whole different status game.
Right.
They're playing it in a different domain, and this is the real kicker, is that all these status games basically fall into two buckets. One of them is healthy, the other one is not. And you know the difference because the status games that are a zero-sum game, and status is up or down. So if I'm playing a status game of money where I have the private jet and not everybody can have a private jet, that means I'm in the elite top 0.1% of people in the world, and a whole lot of people have to be under me in order for me to have that position. Right. So that means I win and a lot of people lose. That's a zero-sum game. That's a toxic status game.
Right.
The missionary example that you're giving, their spiritual depth, their devotion to a higher power, their desire to transform people's awareness and lives and open up their hearts to loving their fellow men and women around them, that is not a zero-sum game. That's the opposite. Right. The more my that is what you would call, well, I've heard these terms actually used. The toxic status one is based on dominance. I have to be on top of somebody else. The other one of the words I've heard used is prestige. Is the healthy status game is I have a lot of prestige, but that does not preclude anyone else from also having prestige. My whole point as a, let's say, professor is to enlighten the intelligence and feed into other people a higher level of consciousness, because everybody benefits in the tribe when we get there.
Yeah, that's very well said, and I like that. Well, that I like when you make things very clear in boxes or rules, etc. So I do like that, but that then helps the dads, I think, listening determine what their values are. And we're not saying that that's bad. If you want the zero sum and that's what your life is about, there's lots of guys in the world that operate by that. Elon Musk comes to mind, right? Like he's one of those guys that's operating kind of in that box, if you will. And he's doing great things in the world and for the world. It's not my box that I'm operating in. I'm in the other box, but just figure out what your box is.
Yeah. And let's bring it back to the women for a minute. And we were talking about, feeling judged and judging. And again, it's a real slippery slope that we can go down. But I think it's fair to apply this lens when we're looking at a woman. And we have to ask ourselves, are they playing a dominance hierarchy game? Or are they playing a really healthy prestige status game? And they're going to say it's prestige. They're of course going to try to make it all be virtuous, but you have to ask yourself, is somebody else, can everybody win at this game and still play the same game?
Yeah.
So, when you meet a woman, and
You're saying that's the determining factor of whether they're playing the prestige game or the zero sum game is, can everybody play and everybody win?
Yes.
Or is there have to be a definitive winner and a definitive loser? If there are losers, it's not a prestige game or a respect game or whatever you want to call it.
It's not a sustainable game. That game is going to come to an end. And what it is once everyone starts playing that game, then the people that were the winners move and they change the rules and it becomes a new status game. This has happened throughout history. It used to be that, before 1969, when the first quartz watch came on the market, it used to be that Rolex and Omega and all of those watch manufacturers would compete to be the most accurate timepiece. Mm-hmm. Well, the minute you throw out a quartz crystal, that now you can get a watch for $10, that is 100 times more accurate than any of those handmade spring round watches ever were.
Right.
Well, suddenly the accuracy of the watch isn't what matters. So they change the status game. Once everybody starts winning the game, certain people have to move to a new status game where not everybody can win. That's what you're asking yourself. Is this person playing a game where everybody can win, which is the missionaries that you're talking about? Mm-hmm. Or is this person playing a game where there's an elitism and other people have to be below them in order for them to feel like they're winning?
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to take this now into then talking about what status the divorced dads are, right? And I think before we do that, but it'll lead into it is introducing the concept of preselection. That is part of what women are doing in all of what we just described, this whole process of what we just described. And because you have been married before, you have been vetted already. So that's actually by other women, right? So that's a positive thing. What that does is it creates less uncertainty around you. You're not a gamble, right? You've proven you can commit. You've proven you can build a home. You've proven you are capable of long-term partnership. Mm-hmm. So automatically, guys, and you may not, and I didn't realize this, and you may not realize, you have automatically put yourself in a status place that is different than a ton of other guys that are out there. Let's just put it that way.
And the label, generally speaking, for all the other guys that have never been married is Peter Pan.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how women tend to see it. And, and because I've never been married, women really wonder, so does Dallas have commitment issues? Is Dallas not really, is he just playing around? What is it? And they, and any woman that gets to know me, let's go of those, those beliefs and those questions quite quickly. But when we first meet it and they sort of learn my stats, they're like, oh, so, you're Peter Pan. Why? What's up? Now, if I said, no, I was married for 8 years, that dissolves all of that question. It's okay. You got married when you were young, like a lot of people, you went to it and wasn't the right person. You learned something, things didn't work out, but yeah, it dispels the idea that you are an irresponsible, free spirit boy who's just looking to.
Right. And so you mentioned the questions, and I was going to lead into you in the questions that you might get. And so let's talk about that, because we get them as divorced dads, right? Mm-hmm. And they're probably mostly the same questions, like, have you been married? Because you can have kids and a dad and not have been married. So that is one, and yes or no. So I want to bring it back to the biological point of this. When we're getting these questions, right? And sometimes some women aren't real great at it and doing it, and some of them come in attorney style, right? And you feel like you're in a deposition, the first date deposition, I call it, right? And it's like, oh shit, can we take a recess here, and I'll have a breather and a drink? But when they're doing that, it's like, so it goes back to those cues of safety, right? The biological stuff, resourcefulness, competence, those three things that I brought up earlier. And when you have committed to something, then there is a sense of safety around that, because you've already committed to that protector, right? That's what I'm going to get to next. That protector and provider mindsets of marrying somebody, and then you had kids, and now you're doing that with them. So what you've just done is, like, you have taken that whole that one question that she's asked you, even if it is DA style in a deposition, you have just raised yourself in a status place unwittingly. You didn't know, you went through all this hell of divorce and everything else, but you have just put yourself in a different place of status in that woman's mind automatically.
Yep. Her question is a shortcut to her getting the information.
Right.
And when you give her the information, you are taking a shortcut to that status in her mind of showing her what you want, of proving that you have a track record of committing and stepping into it. Yeah. Right. Take the shortcut, fellas. Yeah. Guys in my position, I don't have that shortcut. I can't say, well, I was married for 8 years and all of that. So it gives you a shortcut up. Now, you want to be sure you don't suddenly stumble back down Chutes and Ladders style.
Please.
By then griping about your past marriage or griping about your ex today. Take the win and it's, and something to the effect of, I did everything I could to make it work and I just couldn't make it work. And the truth is, I want to be with somebody that I can make it work with. Something like that will stick the landing of that shortcut and keep you at that higher status.
Right. Basically, you're saying don't start bitching on the first date about your ex and everything that went wrong, et cetera. I would go, know me, Dallas, I would go as far as saying, like, have something that you've either worked on with your therapist or Dallas or somebody that helps you be, or me, that gets you, that that you can express in a genuine, authentic way. Because if you are bitter and pissed off and going and you come up with, it just didn't work out, it's not gonna hit. And then you might not be diving off that cliff, but you're gonna be rolling down that hill of the status that you could otherwise have just established right there. And then the other thing I want to say is I get this all the time, like, should I have kids on my dating profile, or should I say I was married or that I'm divorced? And because us dads, we have a lot of shame around this stuff. So this is why I wanted us to talk about this today, is because I want to flip the script on this, because I understand as much as any other dad out there, the shame that comes with it. That was like the biggest crippling thing for me in the beginning. But there is a flip side to all of that, and that is this. And my answer is yes, you should put that I am divorced and that I have kids, because it helps you then, for the women that are in that prestige box, that are looking for the same values that you have and want to play the same game that you are playing. You've automatically, you've gone halfway down the game board just because of that.
Yep. Totally true. And the other thing about having kids, and this is an amazing statistic, is according to the Human Genome Project, out of the entire history of Homo sapiens, of humans, 70% of women have procreated.
Yes.
So 7 out of 10 women have had kids. For men, it's 40%.
Right.
So less than half of all the human men that have ever lived, less than half of them got to procreate. When you put on your dating profile, I procreated, I got kids, guess what? You're one of the survivors. You're one of the men that the future generations will be a descendant of.
Yep.
The majority of men are not you. You bagged the prize. You got to pass on your genetic material. Own that shit. That is a mark of honor. You tricked a woman into marrying you and having kids with you. Congratulations, buddy. Own it, flaunt it, and show other women, look, I did it to them, I can do it to you.
Well, and I just want to keep emphasizing, we're not we're not, that's not even working at the conscious level, guys. We were working at the subconscious level, the biological way in which she is designed, right? And so just by putting that on your profile, just by having a truthful and an authentic conversation about your marriage and how long you were married and how many kids you have, you are automatically right there demonstrating safety, resourcefulness, and competence. Like, it's, you automatically have like skipped ahead in the game from, like you said, the 60% of other men that are in the world.
That is if the man, if the dad on his profile and when he meets the woman in person, if he is really owning it and sticking the landing, saying, I am proud of these accomplishments, I'm proud of these decisions, I am proud of my history, and and I own all of it positively. That's the trick. Now let me ask this to you, Jude, because I think I'm saying I want to ask you because you have more insight into one of the doubts that can creep into a dad's mind on this. I hear this from women, but they're saying it consciously. And here we're talking about also subconscious motivations. I think a lot of the guys, the dads out there might be worried that the woman wants a guy that is less encumbered and they can have more fun and they can go out there and do the fun things. And they don't want the complications of the kids. Is that a very fair description of one of the doubts that a single dad has?
Absolutely. And so I feel like as a dad just getting back into the game, there's a scarcity mentality. And the scarcity mentality is, oh my God, what am I going to do now? I'm mid 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever. I don't understand everything that you and I are talking about today, and she's not going to like me. And so I want to move in whatever direction that I can get her to like me without knowing and understanding the fact that there are going to be women like that. There's a segment of the population of women that are going to be like that. They might not have kids and they might not want to have kids, and they might be post kids and they want to just travel around, and they might be, like you said, that in that status box of zero sum game, that they want somebody that's going to, the 50 Shades of Grey, put them on the plane and then do everything else with, like, that's the fantasy.
It was the helicopter.
Pick them up in the heli. Yeah, whatever. I didn't read the book. So we're in a scarcity mentality, and then sometimes it is as simple as we're getting some female attention. I don't want to screw this up, right? Because you have not had any kind of female attention, some guys, for maybe decades, right? And this is so exciting that literally your nervous system is is overload and wrecked. What you and I are talking about today didn't even register. The fact that she's showed up on the date and said and remembered your name was like, holy shit. And I remember being like this too. Like, at one point I had been on a date with a woman, and she had mentioned something that I said on a previous date. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. She remembers what I said. Like, that was how desperate I was for just somebody that would tune in enough to remember something from several dates later. Right. And so that was how low my bar was, Dallas. So think about that. And then my dating pool of women and who I chose at that point. And then now it's evolved, through doing a lot of the work that we talk about here, but mostly through, doing that, but also through a lot of trial and error. So it's pretty convoluted. And that's why I try when we're talking here with the dads, it's a process here. I understand, you're not going to just automatically. So when you're like, it's got to be an invitation, and I'm like, holy shit, dude! That's why I'm trying to think of shortcuts all the time for guys, because I remember dude, I can't figure out upside down on inside out.
So let me just I want to roll it back for a minute to the woman wanting the man who's unencumbered and has lots of availability to have fun. You're right. There's a certain percentage that's just what certain women are looking for. But again, what women want, that's they're looking for the experience in which they can feel free. They can feel lighthearted. They can feel happy. They can feel carefree. That's what the woman's really looking for. Oh, he has kids. That's probably not going to happen. Oh, that guy doesn't have kids. That's probably going to be easier for me to have that experience with him. Okay,
right.
That's an item on a resume, on a profile that woman is using as a shortcut to try to filter for the experience she's going to get. Okay, you can rewrite that. I do this all the time. Having never been married, any woman that goes on a date with me knows that I'm not a Peter Pan. She can feel it inside. She knows the experience in my presence that I'm absolutely a very grounded, established, serious man. They simply know that. You, as a single dad, want to essentially give them the reassurance, the experience very quickly of, no, in my presence, you're going to feel very carefree. And actually, the fact that I have kids, that's actually makes it easier because I'm more grounded. In order for the feminine to really be able to like blossom in the flower and really be carefree, to, kind of like helium in a balloon, for her to really, just soar as high as she wants, she needs that tether. She needs that rock down on the ground that is firmly grounded, that she can rely on. Somebody who's a dad understands what that is. You can demonstrate it. You can flex it by talking about your fathering, about your being a parent. You can flex that for her. And when she sees that, part of her relaxes. And when she relaxes, then that feminine energy comes out. If she meets the male counterpart to her that just wants to be lighthearted and playing and having fun, that's going to get old really quick because he's probably not going to commit. He's probably not going to provide the groundedness. She's going to realize really the error of her ways. And she's going to realize, nope, I need a grounded man. That's the only way that my feminine nature can truly be effervescent, is by having a nice, solid man next to me that provides all of that masculine frame.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge these days in the dating world, Dallas, in general, and particularly for dads, because there are so many ways in which all of us, any individual, can become distracted in their lives. And we see this through whatever it might be, travel, it could be video games, it could be a substance, it could be a video or scrolling, like social media, like whatever it might be. And I feel like women are more susceptible to these distractions, and these distractions then become part of that status filter that they utilize. So I agree with everything that you say. I would just caution the dads to, especially those of us that are codependent, that was me, right? That if that seems to be a status filter for her, don't try to change her mind. Like if you're just working through like what you said, which is she just wants it to be fun and she wants to have fun, like we said in the beginning, and I want to have fun too, right? And then she realizes that because of all the reasons that, and you bring all the other things that you just described, that's great. But if you're going to try to change her mind around it, and you should be able to figure this out pretty quickly, don't do it. You've got a limited amount of time and resources, which I want to get into here next, kind of that filtering process, because as dads, we've got so much on our plate, which is what is making you really, really attractive, but you need to have the right person in your life, because I will tell you, it can be a nightmare if you do not. And I know that scares a lot of guys. I want us to talk about this. So we might go a little bit long. I want to talk about that filtering process, but I want to talk about just a couple of other, and we touched on them, a couple of other reasons, so that the dads can just really take to heart and hear why it is that just them showing up as a divorced dad, that they've just already elevated themselves to a status above so many other men. The other one is the emotional maturity. And you talked some about that, right? Going through divorce forces men to deal with life, and whatever part of that life it is that you're having to deal with, it's you are literally forged in fire. And then dads, and because we're guys, oftentimes that post-divorce glow up, if you will, or figuring out, just really helps you to get tuned in to your mental, emotional state, makes you more resilient, makes you more self-aware. And look, heartbreak helps you. Again, it's forged into fire. It makes you stronger going forward. And so it just automatically, again, brings you to a different level. Like you talked about Peter Pan, and your challenge is you've got to convince her that you're not Peter Pan. I don't have to do that. I've been through hell, and I've had my heart broken, and I've gone through this divorce, and I've come out on it, and I can show up and I can have fun with you, and I can show you a good time and all of that. Dude, I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to say a word about that.
You've graduated.
Yeah.
You finished the class. You got the degree of, the School of Hard Knocks. You came out the other side. You are now, disillusioned isn't the word, but you're no longer living in the rose-colored glasses have come off, and you are definitely more, what the real world is more about. Yeah.
And that's that speaks to something primal in women, probably more than anything else that we've talked about. Yep. Because then it goes back to that, to your ability to commit, build a house, build a home or an environment, whatever you want to call it, and then commit to something long term. And let's talk about that for a second too, because that, I feel like, is diminished in general in our society. But I genuinely feel that both men and women are designed to be in relation with each other, and to be in relation with somebody over the long term. I'm not talking from a religious precept or concept. I believe that that's a design that we innately, like we talked about with the biology of wanting safety, resourcefulness, and competence. If we don't have that with somebody, we either only have that in spurts, which makes us very uncomfortable or anxious, which might be one of the reasons why we have so much anxiety going on. At the very least, or the very worst, it just makes your life completely unstable. And we've met those people, both guys and girls, that just can't do that. And so I just want to recognize that if that is because we had a guy on the call last night was like I'm design, well, he didn't say he's designed. I'm saying we're designed. He said I've been conditioned to want that, or to do that. I believe that we are designed to want that. So if you want that, guys, again, after your divorce, that is completely normal. I have wanted that since day one after my divorce.
I agree. I think,
okay.
There's obviously, outlier exceptions with people, but I do believe that most people are well regulated. I think there's a lot of research to show that people live longer, people do better financially, people, lead happier lives when they are not alone. Yeah. And, when I look at the end of life, I do something I call the old man test. Okay. I look at how late I'm staying up tonight, or what I'm working on, or if I said yes to an experience. I give it the old man test, and I ask myself, okay, when Dallas is 96 years old and he's looking back on this, am I gonna be glad that I stayed up that late or said yes to the experience? Or am I going to go, I wish I'd gone home and been more responsible? I ask myself, so I'm going to give this the old man test. When I'm 96 years old, do I want to be with a woman that I've been with for the last 30 years, and she's there under the blanket with me on the couch in front of the fire? Or does old man Dallas want to be by himself under the blanket on the couch in front of the fire?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that most people want to end up there with somebody else.
Yeah.
Even if all you're doing is holding each other's hand and trying, and reminiscing about things that have passed, because there's not that much runway ahead of you anymore. Even when that's the case, I think pretty much with a few exceptions, I think pretty much everybody out there knows that they want to be there with someone else.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this, and I say it because you, again, on social media, you get this free agency mindset, or the spinning plates idea, or like any of these guys that are talking about this and why it doesn't make sense anymore, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just biologically, we're not wired that way. I like your visioning, right, of what's this look like. I've got I've got windows right here in my office. Right outside my windows, there's an old couple that walks every single day, 2 or 3 times a day. So it is absolutely, and it's fantastic, because every time if I'm immersed in something, I will just stop. And it's literally a 10-second reminder to me I'm just watching them walk by in my window going, that is just freaking amazing. And they do it like every single day. In the middle of winter, they're doing it. They take a walk together at least once a day. Sometimes they're individual, but once a day. And it's like, that's what I want. Like when I'm that age, that's what I want. I don't want to be this whole free agent mindset. I don't want to be this, spinning plates thing. That's okay, guys. Like, just understand it's okay. It might be scary for you to be thinking like that again post-divorce, especially once you've gone through something. But I promise you that you can find that. You can find a healthy relationship again and experience that. And so let's just finish up here. We're going to go a little bit long, guys, but I think it's well worth it. Definitely. Let's just talk about protecting that status now that you've got automatically built in, right? The first, and we've alluded to this a couple of times, is that mindset shift. Pivoting to you dads, we need to pivot that mindset to act like high status, not just have it in your mind, right? So high status men do not beg for attention. They filter for fit. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we've been talking about this the whole time, and I'm just trying to like put this into some words for you. The fit is the game, right? So if you're showing up, and here's the thing, guys. I alluded earlier to working with somebody to change or get an outcome that you want. If you want to change that mindset that you've got, get with Dallas, because this is what Dallas does with guys all the time, is help put you in that mindset. So it's easy for me to say, hey, guys, pivot to how dads need to act high status. High status men do not beg for attention. They filter for fit, right? Okay, but how do I get myself into a mindset to do that, especially after what you've been through?
So the first thing you need to do is to realize there are different games being played around status. And you want to become aware. Don't try to play all the games. You can't. Choose the games that fit with you. Make it a part of your identity as a man. That's how you stick that. That's how you show up with confidence. Confidence comes from your own identity. And part of your identity is I'm saying yes to this and I'm saying no to all of those things. That's how you filter. I'm saying yes to this and I'm saying no to that. Some woman shows up wearing a Versace watch and that's what it is. And there's a little something inside of me that goes, I wish I could be the guy. It's like, hang on, Dallas, which game are you playing? Yeah. Stick it. What is your real identity? Not she's filtering me out. I'm filtering her out. Yes. That is not where I want my resources to go. That is not where my values are. That's not what I want to teach my kids.
Yep, exactly.
Before you can filter the women and before you can show up with confidence, you have to become aware and you have to do the work inside to realize what is the status game or games, plural, that you're really playing and that you really want to win. And then you want to step in and commit so that you actually are on the path to raising your status on those game boards.
Yep, exactly. And so you've got to be assessed. So this is the way that I would like the dads to think about this, is that it's I'm calling it prize mentality, right? So instead of what I described when I was just first showing up, like, oh my God, she's listening. So like, and remembering something I said, like that was how desperate I was just for somebody. Like you've got to understand that and stop hoping that she likes you, and start assessing if she fits into your life and in the life that you've created, an environment with you and your kids' lives, right? Because that's going to be part of it. So so automatically, if she plays games, that's it. Yeah. I mean, no, that's not going to fit. If she's disrespectful, doesn't respect your schedule, whatever, you just move on, guys. Don't waste the freaking time.
Yeah. And if you're showing up asking her to validate you, that's dependent.
Yep.
That's looking for something from her. That's going to be a burden because it is inherently an insecurity. What you want, what every woman wants to be with is a winner. Nothing says status more than I won the race. I won whatever it was. And you can do that through, public displays where you're actually having a race of some kind somewhere. And that's what these symbols are, the Lamborghinis and the C-suite. You won the race. Congratulations. You won the race. Well, what they want though is they want to be with the blue ribbon winner.
Yeah.
Well, I need to find on my own without needing the toxic dominance hierarchy of the status. I need to find the heart of the winner in myself as a man. I need to bring that to my interaction with the woman and present to her what a winner looks and feels like. She's in the presence of a winner. She experiences being with a winner. This is what it feels like. If I'm asking her to provide all of that, I'm not providing it. It's that simple. We have to find what game we're playing, and then we need to get ourselves on track and in alignment so that we can show up with the heart of a winner, because every woman wants to be with the winner.
Yeah. And that's why we've talked about in the past, taking the time before you start dating to do that. Maybe go through all of the seasons to get your life in order, period, and schedules and stuff, but then work on exactly what you design. Create, and Robert Glover talks about this in his book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, a lot of time, creating that life that is that beautiful cake, right? You want to create that life in that environment and then invite her into it. And if it's awesome, and it can be awesome without her liking it too. Just understand it's awesome to you and it's awesome to your kids and you really enjoy it. You're going to find somebody that's going to be attracted to that. And that's where it goes back to where you were talking about all these status filters. That's when all these status filters start to go away. And she's like, well, I thought I didn't want to be with a guy with kids. Well, man, this is pretty fun. And, and all those other things. And then it just becomes automatic, guys. But it all starts with you, your mentality, doing the work, creating, and then capitalizing on that automatic status that you've got built in that goes to her primal desires and needs, and taking it from there. And that is, guys, where I want to wrap this up and say that is why you start at a higher value than most of the rest of the guys. What did you say? 40%, like 40%. So more than 60% of the other guys that are on the market there. You have just leapfrogged all of that. You had no idea. You didn't think about it. You didn't plan that necessarily, right? And there you are right there at that top, more than top half of opportunities. So go in with that and utilize that, and give us the last word on that, Dallas.
Just the last word on that. I just want to point out that women have a lot of thoughts going around in their head, a lot of images, a lot of pictures, a lot of clicking, a lot of words, that are going around. And to your point, all of that, once they step into the experience that they really want, they're like, actually, this is what I want. Actually, this clicks with me. And that's based on her experience. Her thoughts and her experience are not the same. Focus on the experience, because ultimately women respond to the experience that they're having. Don't worry about her thoughts. And this is why a lot of times I say, don't try to engage too much in the conversations. That's engaging with the thoughts. Bypass the thoughts. Focus on the experience. Focus on
hard for guys.
Oh, it's hard for everybody. It's hard for
guys. Yeah.
But when you focus on the experience, and again, you've curated this experience. When she steps on into the room with you, she's like, "Oh, I'm in Jude's experience of life now." I don't remember what I thought I wanted before. I want Jude because I want what I experience and feel when I'm with Jude. That's the trick. It ain't easy. No way is it easy, and it's a lifelong job. And whenever we start to fail, women will point it out. Like it is, it sucks.
That's their job.
That's their job. Yeah, they respond. Yes. Oh, we're responding to failure now on the part of the man. Yep, that's there to tell us it. Yeah,
right. And just take that as feedback. It's not failure, it's feedback. So if you can reframe, and that's a whole nother podcast, right? Oh, yeah. If you can reframe your mind and it wasn't failure, it was feedback, and now you can do better. Yeah. You know, you won't get butthurt, you won't get snippy, you won't play passive aggressive games. You'll just do better, and then lead her back into the stable, if you will. Yeah. So, all right, that was awesome. That was awesome, Dallas. Guys, hey, we've got one big thing of note. First, if you enjoyed what you heard, leave us a comment, give us a star rating. Man, we had the most downloads last week that we've ever had. So this show is growing. We appreciate it. That's a credit to you guys. Keep tuning in. Share it with your divorced dads. You can share this with other guys too. They don't have to be divorced. Let's just say that, because all of what we talk about, we put together in a concept of divorce and from a lens of divorce. But these basics, like the biological basis, the societal reasons women show up and what they want, that's all across the board. So share with your single friends. You might be doing them a favor. And look, hey, you're the prize. So you tell them, hey, if you want to get to my status, you want to get to my status, you need to listen to this show. And then we can talk about some things and I'll help you out. So do that. And then we've got coming up next month, we're going to do a live in-person Q&A with Dallas here in the Denver metro area. So if you're in the Denver metro area on February 19th, we're going to be doing that live Q&A in person. You can go to the divorceadvocate.com and go to the events page. We got it listed there. You don't have to sign up. You just show up. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about this stuff. But hey, then we're going to be also in a place with women. So we're going to have some fun with all of Dallas's brilliance with women. So show up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great thing. And then finally, go check out blackboxdating.com and really up your game. And then you want to take your status from where you got automatically to the next level. Dallas is the man to help you with that.
Thank you, Jude. I appreciate that. Yeah, we have a weekly mastermind session on Wednesday evenings where we say all the stuff that we can only say when the women are not around. Come on in, join it. We've got a 14-day free trial, and you can check it out risk-free and see whether or not you like it. Jude, I love that you bring such relevant questions to the show every week. I love how you provide that structure, that masculine frame to these discussions. It is such a service. And yeah, this has been so much fun. Looking forward to next week. Talk to you then.
Thanks, Dallas.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?